what I'd like to do is basically explain more about tectonic plates, which is right here, my mantle, which is made of magma, and then I made basically this huge black piece of land. And so we've talked about how the mantle is the second most layer down, and then we have the crust. So it actually is mantle here, and our crust is right up here. And then we literally, so if this is a continent, we are literally sitting on tectonic plates. And these plates are literally floating on top of the mantle, which means they're floating on top of the magma. Now, here's what's happening. Every day, we have magma that is attempting to, so as you can see right here, starts at the bottom of the mantle. It literally is trying to come up and push through these tectonic plates, which means it would get through the crust and into the ocean floor or through the volcanoes. But if there's no crack, it comes back down, hits the bottom of the mantle, and it does it again. Comes back, oh, no crack, comes back down. This side, I'm going to go opposite of the arrows because it actually goes this way. Hits the top and hits the bottom and tries to come back. These are called convection currents. That's all it is. So when magma is flowing and attempting to get from the mantle to the crust, if there's no crack, it's just going to keep going literally in a circle. So right here, they want to come, oh, they can't, and comes back down. Here it comes through, oh, it can't, and comes back down. And it literally keeps going until the pressure and the heat literally pushes up and causes the tectonic plates to shift. So this one's shifting as the arrow pushes it that way. This one's pushing this way. So it is shifting. Now, here's the issue. We have land right here. This land would literally has two options. It can either fall down into the magma, which does not happen, or it can literally shift with the tectonic plate, which it is sitting on. And what's going to happen is it shifts with the tectonic plate, going from being one continent to now it's two completely different continents. This one's over here, this one's over here. This is what we have seen. So Africa, so here's South America now. Here's Africa now. They used to be, as you can tell, because look, what we have is literally they used to fit together almost perfectly right there. And right there, if you would push them together, they would fit perfectly almost. And look, right here. Well, look, South America, which is right here, is on the South American plate. It goes that way. That's the way that the magma pushes it. So the magma underneath, if I would pick up this South American plate and pick up this African plate, which goes this way, here's Africa, they are literally being torn apart, which then over a long, long, long period of time, they shifted this way. South America shifted this way, and they went from being a happy couple, and they broke up. Sad story. Now, there are three different ways that this can occur. So back here, we have tectonic plates. Magma can either push them apart, which as you can see, it can actually push them together towards each other, or it can push them in opposite ways. So imagine this one was going down, this one would be going up, and this causes different natural disasters to occur. So convergent, one way you can remember that is convergent. Sounds like you are coming together. So the plates are literally pushing towards each other, which what that means is when plates come together, it is going to push upward, which causes mountain ranges. Okay, again, if I'm coming this way and this one's coming this way, the only way to go is up, which then creates a mountain. Another thing that can happen is if this one's coming towards this one, okay, we're having a convergent, and instead one will go up and one will go down. Typically, the one that weighs the most will go on top of the one that weighs the least. So two things can happen with a convergent plate. Either they both slam into each other and mountains are made, or one goes down and one goes up, and we have volcanic eruptions. Typically, when one goes down, it goes into the asthenosphere. That's where the magma is waiting. It starts to boil, and the land right here turns into magma and then comes back up through this crack, and we have a volcano which erupts. Divergent. Divergent means the arrows are going opposite ways. I just showed you a divergent plate here. The arrows went opposite ways. They physically pulled this one big continent. It was literally one big continent, and they tore them apart. You went that way, Africa, you went this way, South America. Even though you loved each other, it's not working out. So with divergent, they go opposite ways. So you can physically tear land apart, or if you are in the ocean, you are going to physically, here's land, here's more land, and look right here. This is called a trench or a mid-ocean ridge. Right here is basically the exact same thing as this. They are physically tearing this land apart. And this trench right here is only going to get deeper. This is where you're going to see a really scary fish, because as you start getting down further and further, you start to lose sunlight. So you have really, really, really deep holes. Now, if you remember right here, we had a crack in the crust in the ocean, and from there, when you have a crack, you're going to have the magma seep through, and it's going to lay on the ocean floor, and then it's going to dry, and then it's going to happen again, and it's going to dry. And remember, that's called sea floor spreading. So right here, magma is going to come up and dry, and there's probably this land right here. It's going to come up and dry, and that's this land right here. So physically, this land and this land were more than likely made from magma seeping up through this crack right here and drying because the water is colder. So that's divergent. So divergent physically pulls things apart. Our last one we are looking at, this is probably the most notorious one. Transform. So you have one plate going this way, you have one plate going this way. Well, honestly, just like a car accident, if you had one car driving this way, one car driving this way, and they hit each other, you're going to feel a big rumble. If we have a lot of energy pushing a plate one way and pushing another plate the other way, so if instead we had, let's clear, there we go, if instead we had these tectonic plates, one is going this way and they slide across each other, you are going to have so much energy between this slide that it is going to cause, above it, so up here, it is going to cause an earthquake to occur, and anything above there is going to get shaken pretty hard depending on how big this slide was. Okay, now if you have questions, we will go over this again on Friday. One last time. Cancel. Convergent means coming together. When anything pushes together, you're going to create mountains. Or you're going to have one plate going down. You're going to have one plate going up. The land that goes down melts because it's super hot, and then it physically comes up, and it causes, the volcano probably caused from the convergent plates slamming into each other, so they're creating mountains. But when you have magma coming through a mountain, guys, you're going to have a volcano. Basically, a mountain is a volcano that doesn't have magma. A volcano is a mountain that has magma coming up through it, and you'll have a volcanic eruption. This is called subduction, when one goes down and one goes up. This is called convergent, when they both slam into each other, and mountains are made. Divergent, one way I remember it is if you've seen the movie Divergent, the groups do not like each other, and they are always going opposite ways. Divergent is when the land is pulling apart. If it happens under the ocean, you are going to see a split in the land underneath, and you will see a gigantic crack very, very, very low in the ocean. You'll also see seafloor spreading. Oh, here comes the magma. Transform is when they slide past each other, and like a car accident, when you have two cars that sideswipe each other, they are going to have a lot of rumbling. Therefore, as you can see here, they slid past each other. This one went that way, that one went that way, and we had a physical crack in the ground. Some earthquakes are this big where there's a physical crack. Some earthquakes just cause a lot of damage due to the shaking. Okay, I hope this explains things a little more, and we will talk more on Friday about these three types of boundaries: transform, divergent, and convergent, with subduction being when one plate slides under the